There are things too big for us to believe are true. In the subconscious of humanity, fear and reverence always go hand in hand with size. From the giant Titan of Greece, Jotun of Northern Europe, to Pangu of the East, all civilizations share a common memory: that this earth once belonged to giants. The Book of Genesis and ancient theological texts provide eerily specific numbers. They write, the ancestors of humanity, Adam and Eve, were giants. Future generations speculate, Adam is 40 meters tall, Eve is 35 meters tall, equivalent to a 12-story building today.
Ancient people did not use meters like we do, but their description of ancestors with grand sizes shows a mindset that worships strength.
Yeah.
However, is that just a metaphor? Or is it an exaggerated memory?
Leaving the pages of mythology, we step into the history of exploration. In the 16th century, Magellan's fleet and navigator Magellan arrived in South America. We saw a giant dancing on the beach. He was so tall that our heads only reached his waist. He was as tall as 8 ordinary people combined. If this record is accurate, that ancient Inca person was 13 meters tall, an unimaginable figure for modern science. In a modern anatomy laboratory, Professor Robert Chen, the representative of the skeptics, the professor is holding a model of a femur bone.
We have a barrier called, if you double a person's height, the surface area increases by a factor of 4, but the body's mass increases by a factor of 8. If Adam is 40 meters tall, or the Inca is 13 meters tall, their bones would break apart immediately under the weight of their bodies.
Yeah.
Their hearts will explode trying to pump blood to the brain at that altitude.
In today's society, a person who is 2 meters tall is already a rare find and a sought-after target for basketball teams. Science affirms giants are biologically impossible.
But entreat Kapanshin. Science is always rewritten by new discoveries. And sometimes the ground holds secrets that textbooks haven't yet updated.
This is Galileo's fundamental square cube law. The large 2 times 2 cube begins to develop cracks, dust flies out, and it shatters under its own weight.
Increases, the surface area only increases proportionally to the square. But body weight increases cubically. Simply put, bones won't be strong enough to support that oversized body.
Right.
A person who is 13 meters tall taking a step, their leg bones would shatter like dry sticks on the very first step.
Try applying this law to a giant from legend.
A giant human skeleton, 13 meters tall, is standing on a barren land. It begins to take a running step. As soon as the giant foot touched the ground, the impact was overwhelming. The shin bone bent violently, emitting an orange glow from the pressure, then completely shattered. We still have giants in the real world, but they are very different from those in mythology. And what they record in the voyage log is much more terrifying than the numbers in the laboratory. Science says impossible, but history whispers the opposite. Before modern biology emerged, the world was in the hands of explorers.
In 1520, Ferdinand Magellan arrived at the southernmost part of South America. Here, the historian of the expedition.
We saw a giant dancing on the sand. He was so tall that our heads only reached his waist. They call that land Patagonia, meaning the land of big feet. That was not a mistake made by a single person. Throughout the following 250 years, European nautical maps officially documented the existence of this giant race as an undeniable fact. Why were Western people at that time so easily convinced by giants? The answer lies in their core belief. The Bible, Many medieval scholars believed in the theory of degeneration. They thought that humans in the beginning were perfect and great. Adam was estimated to be as tall as 40 meters, and Eve, 35 meters. Adam walked, taking a step that surpassed even small hills.
But the legends on maps or in religious texts cannot be used as evidence in a scientific court. To prove, we need something more tangible.
In 1869, in New York, a man turned to stone and stood 3 meters tall was discovered. He was called the Cardiff Giant. Thousands of people flocked to see him, paying to witness what was believed to be biblical evidence.
It was just a block of plaster buried in the ground a year earlier by a prankster named George Hull. A great hoax aimed at feeding people's desire to believe in human miracles.
Most of the shocking images you see on social media are actually the works of artistic photo editing competitions. There are no giant human skeletons at all.
Look at the skull of a prehistoric dwarf elephant left. The large nasal cavity in the middle of the forehead is easily mistaken for the eye socket of a one-eyed giant human right. The image shows a dinosaur's thigh bone standing upright. It looks very similar to a human thigh bone, only 10 times larger. When an ancient Greek or a Chinese farmer found this 2-meter-long thigh bone, they did not know the concept of dinosaur. The most reasonable explanation with their knowledge at the time was, this is the bone of a giant warrior.
Perhaps giants do not lie beneath the earth. They reside in our limitless imagination,
where fears and reverence for nature are personified into giants.
The giants, truly, have never disappeared. They are living within each of us.
That is the aspiration to rise, the limitless imagination that has helped humanity surpass its own biological limits. We don't need 10-meter-long legs to become great, because in the mind, people are the giants.